Hello, Mr. Steven. Hey, can you hear me? All right. I guess I will assume that you can. Okay, cool. Hey, thank you for that text. That was very nice of you. I was up in my attic. It was a damn friggin' smoke detector was like beeping all night. It's like beep, beep, beep every 60 seconds. So I have two smoke detectors in my attic. So I went up there and I took one down, but it turns out it was the other one. All right. Anyway, so let's just see what is going on in the market here. Um, I don't know. More Ukraine stuff, the endless war. Oh, look at this. Binance to exit Russia. Remember, we were talking about this yesterday. This is the big crypto exchange that looks like it's melting down. I still think that there's more to come in this whole crypto world. And actually, I mean, this is it. This is like the biggest exchange. So let's see. Binance to exit Russia. Kami, Kami X. Seal to new exchange, Kami X. Um, all right, so they're exiting Russia. Yeah, it sounds like these guys are in big trouble. So I saw a couple stocks of interest. Been looking for some ascending and descending triangles, and it's amazing how when you actually look for something, you have a hard time finding it. But anyway, all right. So what did I write down here? Minnesota Manufacturing and Mining, 3M. Look at this one. So this thing has gotten rocked and is very oversold. And it just so happens to be at a level that was support before. Right? So we know that things that get to support and get oversold tend to rally. And that's because what is support? Well, support's a level where there's a lot of buy interest. Things go down because there's not enough buyers to absorb all of the supply or sellers. But when we get to a support level, all of a sudden that changes, right? So you got a lot of buyers around this price level here, which I think is 94. Yeah, let's just call it 94. I'm going to make this an even 94. 94. All right. Now, the other thing is it's oversold. So most of the time, something stays within what would be its typical or average or historical trading range. All right. When we get to a condition where it's oversold, where something gets really beaten down, well, we call it oversold if it's below its typical range, and that draws buyers into the market. So you got this kind of double whammy thing going on here. You got support level, right? Hello, Brandy. Hello, Sean. So you got a support level, right, which is a lot of buyers, and you got these oversold conditions, which is going to probably draw buyers into the market. So when things get to support and they're oversold, they tend to bounce. What else did I write down here? Can't even read my own handwriting. HIO. Austin's iron. What the hell would I be writing that for? All right, let me see that again here. HIG? HIO. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I can't even read my own handwriting. HI. Let's see if it's HIG. Hartford Financial Services. Nope, and it wasn't this one. Oh, this looks like an ascending type triangle here, right? Got this here, got that there. Yeah, that could be an ascending triangle. Let me write that down. HIG. All right, so I saw oil is making another oil is making a move back again towards this important 93 level. So 91.88. Now, my guess is that I mean it's very overbought, right? And this is the opposite. When something is overbought, it's trading above what would be its historical or typical trading range. But the environment seems pretty darn inflationary, and all this spending, now I mean, think about it. You got the auto workers now, they're going to get more money. I mean, that's a pretty small part of the economy, but other unions are going to see that, and that's going to add to wage inflation. And there seems to be a labor shortage people are talking about. So I don't know, man. It's pretty bad. My wife went to the supermarket and she spent $230, and I could barely even tell that she went. And although I did go to the Super Stop and Shop, which is like this huge, huge place, and the prices are a lot cheaper than the place I usually go to. But anyway, so oil is back in gear here. So this is going to probably get to like 93. If it does start to roll over, there's a couple different ways you can play it. I mean, you can buy puts on some of the oil companies like ExxonMobil, or there are some ETFs that are inverse oil ETFs, or I should say inverse energy ETFs. I think one is DRIP. Let's see, DRIP. Yeah, so this is designed to go twice in the opposite direction of the S&P oil and gas exploration uh, industry, which is this ETF, XOP, right? So there's that. There's a lot of different ways we can play it. So we're gonna have to just keep an eye on oil and see what happens when it gets up to 93. And I mean, this way, I mean, it's only a dollar away. So I mean, it could get there today or tomorrow. All right, now we're gonna go look through our sectors and let me know if you guys see anything that looks like a ascending or descending triangle. Because I'm having a hard time finding them. I've only found five that are good enough for my presentation. Um, I mean, this is kind of one here, but not really perfect. All right. So anyway, so we've had these pretty ugly sell-offs, bouncing back a little bit this morning, but it's really nothing. You can see that we're still going to be below yesterday's opening price. So the downtrend is still intact. This is a pretty decent descending triangle type pattern up here. Maybe I'll use this one. So if we do start to come back, we're going to have to see, does this 433 level convert into resistance? Because we know that things that are support tend to turn into resistance. Or well, we'll have to look and see what these sectors are looking like to see if that's going to happen. So remember, I talked about how like the main thing we should be watching is Apple and how it navigates this 175 level. And well, look at that. So we closed yesterday down here, up a little bit, but considering the move lower, down 2.4%, and we're just up 50 basis points, that's not really that big of a move. So this is kind of descending triangle-ish type pattern, right? So you got the support down at 175. You got people who are basically just hanging out, and they're okay with just waiting, and they're patient. And they're like, all right, well, if someone comes to me and sells me some shares of Apple, that's cool. But if not, then I'm okay with missing it. But meantime, you got the sellers are getting more aggressive. That's why these peaks are forming at lower levels. So we got a peak here. This peak is a lower level. This peak is a lower level. So this tells us that as time goes by, you got your buyers are just kind of chill, but your sellers are getting more aggressive. So just think about that. Any market that you're in where you got chill buyers and aggressive sellers sets the stage for a move lower, regardless of whatever it is you're selling. Could be, stocks, could be tires, homes. All right. So that's Apple. And Microsoft was kind of hanging out at an important level too. Um, yeah, so look at this. So this is kind of teetering right on the edge here too. So these are our two biggest stocks in the market. If you look at the S&P, we go look at our holdings. Together, Apple and Microsoft make up about 13.5% of the S&P 500. So think about that. There's 500 stocks and two of them are responsible for 13%. So then if you add in Amazon and Nvidia, that's about 20%. So you got four stocks are about 20% of 500. WBD, let's see. Yeah, this thing is going lower. Yeah, I can see that because you got the lower highs here. Now this is interesting to me because notice how we've entered these price levels where the last time we were here, we had the rapid move. So one of the reasons why you get resistance is because you have remorseful buyers trying to sell their shares. I mean, you could kind of even not really precise, but people bought here and then they're selling over here to get out at break even. But when you make a really rapid move like this, there's not a lot of time for there to be a lot of people buying. So you're not going to have this large concentration of remorseful buyers trying to sell. So on the way up, when buyers come in, it's like, hey, where are all the sellers? You can see the same thing happen here. You get your fast move down and fast move up. Now, one of the reasons why we get support is because we have remorseful sellers trying to buy their shares back. Now, when you go really quickly through these levels like this, you're not going to have a lot of time for there to be a lot of people selling. You can see here, right? Fast move up, fast move down. So because we went through these price levels so quickly, you just don't have enough time for there to be a lot of sellers who are going to be trying to buy their shares back. So the same thing could happen down here. We've broken this support and we've gotten into this range where there may not be a lot of buyers. So there's a good chance that this could be going lower. You could even see it up here, right? Fast move up, fast move down, fast move up, fast move down. All right, we'll go take a look at our technology sector, which is the biggest sector in the market. And look at this. This looks like it's kind of could be in a little bit of trouble too. So now the question is do these levels that were support, do they turn into resistance? And then that'll set the stage for a new move lower. But considering the move lower we've had, the fact that we haven't really had any kind of a bounce, and we didn't really bounce off the support at all. We just kind of got there and hung out for 3 days. So there doesn't seem to be a lot of buy interest. So it looks to me like that could probably go a little bit lower. There's a descending triangle up here. This is a pretty good one. I guess I could use that one too. I'll write that one down. I just wanted to find some like really precise ones that are, I mean, it's really hard to find things that are like textbook type stuff, but hey, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so now we know our financial sector was looking like it was a little bit in trouble. Yeah, so this is oh, you know what? there's a good ascending triangle, and there's your descending triangle. So you see here, so we got support over here, then it becomes resistance. So the sellers are okay with hanging out at the resistance and waiting for the buyers to come to them. But you could tell that the buyers are getting more aggressive because these lows are forming at higher price levels. So the sellers are hanging out, buyers are getting more aggressive. Let me show you what I put in my presentation so far. I want to get at least 10. All right, so here is consumer staples. So they got aggressive buyers and placing sellers. Here is Zillow, right? So your sellers hanging out, your buyers are getting more aggressive. So ascending triangle patterns tend to be bullish, right? Because it shows aggressive buyers and complacent sellers. Whereas descending triangle shows the opposite, aggressive sellers and complacent buyers. Here is Dominion Energy, right? So the key is to look for what we're looking at here is these lower highs in the descending triangle. All right, let me go look at this. Yeah, so see, so here with the ascending triangle, let me put this line under here. This shows us the sellers are hanging out. They're okay with hanging out up here, but the buyers are paying higher prices as time goes by here. So we're looking at time. As time goes by between March and June, the buyers have become more aggressive, but the sellers have hung out. Now up here, you got your opposite. You get your descending type triangle. You got the sellers are getting more aggressive and the buyers are hanging out. So this kind of looked like could have been an ascending triangle too, but as it turns out, it didn't. But remember, these things don't play out 100% of the time. If they did, everyone would be successful, right? But it's not important. But what I try to convey is it's more important to understand what it is that the pattern is illustrating than just to find something and say, oh, this is this pattern or this is that pattern. So big move down yesterday, but not really coming back much this morning. I would say, does this $33.60 level now become resistance? And if it does, that sets the stage for another move lower. TLT looks good. I think it was like free fall. So let's go see what our interest rates are looking like here. Our market closed. So that's from yesterday. Yeah, I mean that's a big move. I mean, it's not really the absolute level a lot of times as much as it is the rate of change. And to go up 35% in, let's see, May, June, July, August, in 4 months. I mean, that's a big move. It's kind of interesting here because what you got to understand is people don't trade interest rates. They trade the bonds that this interest rate is derived from. So that's why you get this kind of dated action. Now, the federal funds rate, Maddie was asking about the other day, is set. That rate doesn't change. That's rate set by the Fed, and that's the overnight. That's the rate that banks lend to each other. TD, who's TDA? Can't post messages to some channels. TD Ameritrade. Yeah, yeah, Sean. Yeah, I mean, if interest rates keep going up, that's probably not guaranteed, but it's probably going to keep pressure on equities because higher interest rates are bad for stocks. It costs the companies more money to operate, so it takes money out of the bottom line. It creates competition because people say, "All right, well, I'm sick of stocks. I'm going to go into." Oh, look, it just opened. They're down to 450. So it's down a little bit today. So maybe this SPY will be up a little bit, but it's not significant. And these rates are still very high. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're trading equities, you should always keep an eye on interest rates because interest rates, most of the stuff that you hear in the news is really kind of irrelevant when it comes to the day-to-day price action. But things that affect interest rates do move the market. If it's interest rate, copper is critical to climate change. The world is way behind on production. Um, what was I going to just say? Yeah, most of the news that you hear, it's like it's not what's really moving the market. Like if we look at something like this, right? Remember, this is the opposite of the bond, so I'm going to invert this. Like, why do we sell off here, right? Like, why do we sell off? Okay. Now if you put on the news, you would say, oh, interest rates are up because of this or because of, you know, tensions in Ukraine or whatever. But I would say the reason why the bond went down, which pushes interest rates higher, is because of a technical thing. You got people who bought here who want to get out because they're underwater. So when the price starts getting back up to where they bought, they start thinking, oh man, I can get out at break even now. So other people that want to sell see that, and then they're afraid that they're going to miss out. They know that the market has stopped going higher, which means there are more sellers coming into it. So they're afraid they're going to miss. So they start undercutting each other. So is this down because of some macro broad news story? Or is this down because just this technical thing of anxious sellers undercutting each other? And I would say it's that. I would say it's the latter. Traders, at least in the institutional world, I mean, maybe in the retail world, but in the institutional world, people are not really sitting around watching the news and trading off whatever the headlines are. Seven cricket bread. Well, makes sense, man. As the world is, when we eventually run out of food, those crickets are going to start looking pretty good. I mean, they eat insects in other parts of the world, right? Don't they over in China? You can go like to the stand and get like chocolate covered whatever, chocolate covered crickets. I guess that's a good segue into looking at Hershey. Wow, that's a big drop. This company has done really well though over the years. Chirps chips. They do in Thailand everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you're starving to death, it looks, you're not too picky. Anyway. Yeah, so look at this. Like Hershey's just kind of, I mean, if you looked at this, you would never even really knew that. I mean, here's the internet bubble breaking. Here's the housing crisis. But the stock has just kind of gone up nice and steadily. It's probably like a good long term hold buy and hold type stock. Oh man. All right, now I'm thinking like, what should I have for breakfast? All right. Anyway, let's go finish looking at these sectors here. The healthcare sector. Um, There's a really good descending triangle there. See this? And you could even say that this is kind of one here too, although this support broke over here. But you notice the lower highs, right? So resistance here became support here. And the buyers are hanging out down here and the sellers are getting more aggressive. They're selling at lower prices. So big move down yesterday, a little bit of a rebound this morning. I mean, if this thing got down another dollar or so, which might not sound like a lot, but for a sector it is. If this got down here, there's probably a chance we're going to get some kind of a rebound. But again, with these interest rates moving up the way they are, I don't think it's. I think it's going to probably be pretty muted. Industrials. So this is another thing here that we're kind of sitting right on important price level, right? So we get this big sell off, and where does it come to a pause? Notice I didn't say end, but where does it come to a pause? Well, right at the level that had been resistance. So resistance turns into support. So it's not a coincidence that this is where the sell off has paused. All right. Consumer discretionary was looking pretty weak yesterday. Yesterday was I guess it was the big worst day for the Dow in a couple months. But we weren't surprised. So this here has broken some support. Big move down yesterday, but really not much of a rebound this morning. This is at support as well. This is our communication services sector. Oh, you know what I just saw is really breaking down, and I guess it makes sense because interest rates are moving higher. This is the REIT ETF, real estate investment trust. So people tend to invest in this stuff because they want to get the income. And with interest rates in the bond market moving higher, people are selling this because they can get better yields in the bond market. So this is one of our things about how certain things affect other things. So if interest rates keep going up, this is probably going to keep going down. UPS, yeah, we were looking at that. Let's see, UPS. Yeah, now we talked about this as a potential idea. And the reason why is because we broke the support and we're in this range now, or we're getting into this price range where there really wasn't, really didn't spend too much time on it the last time we were here. So you got this big gap and then you trade it up really quickly. So what happens? You don't have a lot of people that are selling over here that are going to be trying to buy their shares back down in here, maybe. Or, I mean, there's probably, obviously, it's not a guarantee. Because other than death and taxes, there are no guarantees. So they're in this like range here. There's a good chance that there's not going to be too much buying. So this thing could kind of just keep trending lower. It was down 1.5% yesterday. But then, of course, you always got to think about what your stop out strategy is. But I don't know. The market overall looks pretty weak, and this is part of the industrial sector. So if this industrial sector starts to really break this support here, I'm going to say this is the 101 level. then UPS is really going to that'll really get UPS accelerated. Landmark marijuana financing bill set to move forward in this. How about that? A new bill statement establishing a safe harbor for financial institutions. So this will probably make some of the cannabis stocks pop. Tilray. It's not really doing much this morning on it. But every now and then you'll get this, you'll get this, and it's going to be federalized and whatever, and it pops. But let's think about this, right? Who would be fighting against this? Probably the pharmaceutical companies, although maybe they could make money on it. 39 states have legalized marijuana. But I guess if you really want to get some, if you really want to go with the really like the pharmaceutical stuff, to get the research, they probably have to pass this. So let's just see. The Senate Banking Committee will mark up the bill. Looks like it's got some bipartisan support here because you got this Democrat. Let's see, one Democrat, one Republican, an independent, and a Republican. Yeah, there's I'll tell you, man, there's a dispensary here in town. It's Curaleaf. And not that I've ever been in there, but I've heard people say that like everyone who works there is so happy. Like sometimes you go to a place and it's like you can tell when people don't want to be there. Well, that's not the case over at Curaleaf. Got some happy employees. So this is Curaleaf. When you see an F, that means it's a foreign stock. It trades on a foreign exchange, and OTC means it trades over the counter here. And we can see, right, once again, where did this sell-off come to a stop? Right at the level that was resistance. So if you were thinking about buying this, now I don't know what's going to happen, whether it's going to go up or down, but if you saw this and you said, you know what, I really like Curaleaf, but it's really overbought. I think it's going to reverse, but I want to buy some. And it starts to trend lower, then you can say to yourself, what would be a good place to buy? Oh, look at that. There was a level that was resistance. So that means there's a good chance it becomes support. So my daughter now sends me a text last night that her class wants to go to Africa to like go on some safari. I was like, my wife is like, just humor her. Just say it's okay. I was like, I'm not so sure I want my kids on the other side of the world, man. It's like, what if something goes wrong? What am I going to do? I mean, it would be really cool, but there's a lot of bad stuff going on over there. I don't know. I'm not so sure I like that. She's a little young. All right. Anyway, let's go see what's going on over at Market Watch. Good news is bad news, and bad news is bad news too. The stock market can't catch a break. Something unusual is about to happen in copper. Let's see what this is all about. Is Dr. Copper trying to tell us something about the global economy? All right, let's see. Something unusual has happened in the market for copper. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I, I just don't feel comfortable about it. But I suppose I will have to come to terms with it because it would be a great experience, assuming she doesn't get like abducted or anything. Um, all right, so let's see. Something unusual is happening in the market for copper. Declining prices in the spot market have pushed the spread between the spot price and the price of futures 3 months out to its widest level since 1994, putting copper futures in a state of extreme tango. Interesting. All right, I'm going to have to think about what this means. So, contango, future prices are trading in excess of the spot price. Yeah, I wanted, I want to put my hopes on it. Well, hopefully it'll just pass. All right, so let's take a look at what copper looks like. All right, so copper is down, trending lower. This is kind of a descending triangle type pattern here. All right, so let's see what's going on. Let me think about this. So the future prices are trading in excess of the spot price. So that means there's got to be a big demand for the futures. Prices have been declining over the past few months as inventories have piled up at London's metal exchange warehouses around the world. Falling demand is largely a factor of weakness in the Chinese economy. Rising stocks equal weakening demand. Clear signs of weakening demand. Yeah, yeah. Some people call it Doctor Copper because copper is a good thing to watch for to get a sense of inflation and the economy because copper is used in everything. So let's see here. Yeah, oh, that's kind of interesting. All right, let's see what gold is doing. I got, I don't know about you, but I got some gold bars stashed up in my jacket pockets. Yeah, look at this. So gold looks like it might be on the verge of a pretty decent move lower. Because see how we're at support here, but this is kind of the same thing as the UPS situation. See how we're breaking support and we're right above these price levels where the last time we traded here on the way up, we went through really quickly. So remember, there's not going to be a lot of time for people who want to buy in here. I mean, sorry, for people to sell. So you're not going to have this large group of remorseful sellers trying to buy their gold back. Here you got your fast move lower and then your fast move higher. So this could be something that's pretty interesting to look at. Now, if you don't trade futures, I guess you could really just buy puts on this. Um, GLD. Well, I mean, it's nothing is 100 is certain. Like nothing is 100%. You know what I mean? Um, but if if copper prices are really falling and it shows the economy is slowing down, eventually that will be reflected in the interest rates. Because when the economy slow down, it's deflationary because there's less demand for money. If economies are doing really well, that increases demand for money. Like people borrow money to invest in a new business or so forth and so on. So an expanding economy in and of itself is inflationary. This is why the government wants 2% inflation. So inflation is not a bad thing in and of itself. It's just when it gets too high that it's a bad thing. So historically, the big central banks all around the world try to have their interest rates around 2%. But it seems like so far, all this inflation is energy related because we looked at a lot of the agricultural commodities and a lot of them are trending lower, right? So the move in oil has not funneled through to these commodities yet. And when it does, which I suspect it will, that's when we're going to see another big upsurge in inflation. So, like here, if you look at wheat, I mean, it's trending lower. I mean, corn, it's been flat, but it's down from the beginning of the year pretty significantly. So once the move higher in oil starts spreading through to these, then I think we could see like a real upsurge because it's going to get there sooner or later. Because guess what? Farmers need diesel fuel and they need trucks to bring stuff to market. So as the price of diesel goes up, eventually it's going to be reflected in the price of here. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I think it seems like things could be, as we go through the end of the year here. If the oil the move higher in oil starts funneling through to these agricultural commodities, then we could have a pretty big move higher. So this is the inflation, one of the inflation things that we look at, or that at least that I look at. And if you notice here, like all right, so here's the move up from the Ukraine war. But if we look, let's say we start here, you can see we were really kind of, despite the volatility, we were kind of trending lower from say last July through say this March. But now it looks like we're kind of starting to trend higher. So a big part of this is oil, but like I said, when if the rise in oil prices starts to funnel through to some of these agricultural commodities, this thing could really spike. So you guys are looking at Barrick gold. There's also the a lot of people that trade gold, they like to trade this GDX because if gold moves, this thing will probably move more in whatever direction it goes into. So this is an ETF that invests in um, gold miners. So let's just take a look. So yesterday this was down 2.7%. Let's see what gold did yesterday. So yesterday gold was down 87 basis points. All right. And this was down 2.7%. So if you're thinking about getting short gold, you might want to think about buying puts on this thing because this will move more. I mean, I'd have to look at the options to see how expensive they are. But just something to keep in mind. Like if you're thinking about buying gold for the long term because you think it's going to go up, you may want to consider buying this. Coke it again. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that looks pretty ugly. puts me in the mood to have a Diet Coke this morning. My wife is addicted to that stuff, man. She must drink like 6 pack a day. All right, everyone. I'm gonna get going because I got something to do. But I'll be back tomorrow, and I may not be here on Friday. I might have to go up to see my daughter at school to pick her up. But I'll let you know tomorrow. We haven't decided whether I'm going to go or my wife's going to go. So if I go, I won't be here. But if she goes, then I will be here. Or maybe I'll be here and I'll just leave after. It depends on what her class schedule is. All right, everyone. I will talk to you later. Thank you.